how much muscles can you gain in a month in a healthy manner, of course. Now, if you're somebody who's just starting exercises and say you're in your early 20s, you probably will be able to gain somewhere around, of course, I'm saying all these numbers under the assumptions that you're doing it naturally without any nonsense, increased blood thickness leading to complications, sometimes even up to clot or heart attack, heart tissues getting impaired, losing its elasticity, cardiomegaly, hepatomegaly, splenomegaly. It's not just testosterone, many other hormones also do play a very significant and important role, including your insulin levels, IGF-1 or insulin-like growth factor 1 hormone, your cortisol levels, all these hormones, your growth hormone, all these hormones play a role. A rough guideline with regards to the amount of protein that we need in a day is, now some of our clients sometimes come and ask, if I include a lot more protein, can I not gain muscles a lot more faster and easier? Well, that's not entirely true. So in the previous video, we spoke about how much fat can you lose in a healthy manner every month, and we spoke the science behind it. Now the next question is, a healthier transformation is, or an improved body composition is when you lose fat, and maybe if you can actually gain some muscles, do that as well. But that takes us to the second question, how much muscles can you gain in a month in a healthy manner, of course? Well, to gain muscles, of course, you would have to exercise, your hormones needs to be proper, your sleep needs to be proper, your testosterone levels, the male sex hormone which facilitates muscle growth or muscle hypertrophy, all these things needs to be in place. Now let's speak about in a healthy manner, how much can you gain? Scientifically, the amount of muscles that you can gain in a month varies from roughly around 100 grams up to maximum around 800 grams in a month. Of course, it depends upon your age. Are you a beginner or are you an intermediate level or an advanced level exercise enthusiast? Now, if you're somebody who's just starting exercises and say you're in your early 20s, you probably will be able to gain somewhere around 700-800 grams of muscle very easily with some amount of exercises, some amount of structured diet involving adequate amount of protein, reasonably good sleep, so on and so forth, because your body will adapt and respond. Metabolically, you're at a better place. Your testosterone levels would also be cooperating, hence you can actually gain muscles. As you kind of get to an intermediate level wherein you've been exercising regularly for a few years now and you actually want to gain a little more bulk and muscle mass, then probably the amount of the muscles that you can gain would somewhere be around 300 to maximum around 400 grams per month. Now, if you are an advanced level athlete and you've been exercising regularly, reasonably regular for many years, the amount of muscles that you can gain is probably around 100 grams in a month. Of course, I'm saying all these numbers under the assumptions that you're doing it naturally without any nonsense such as anabolic steroids or anything. I specifically use the word nonsense because it is going to cause severe damage and health implications to the body. Externally, giving testosterone through steroids or anabolic steroids will definitely help you to gain muscles much easier and faster, but that's not only going to be short-lived. The implications, the health implications of that is going to be far reaching in terms of, increased blood thickness leading to complications, sometimes even up to clot or heart attack, heart tissues getting impaired, losing its elasticity, cardiomegaly, hepatomegaly, splenomegaly, and even cognitive impairment, hormonal disruption, gynecomastia or man boobs, hypogonadism. I can go on and on with regards to the side effects of using anabolic steroids. So let's stick to the natural, healthier means of gaining muscles, right? So that's the number that we are speaking about. 100 grams to up to maximum 800 grams of muscle in a month is what you can gain. Now, as I earlier said, it depends upon age of a person. As we all age, men, the testosterone levels, the male sex hormones, would slowly slope downwards. The amount of testosterone would come down gradually, especially after around 35 years of age. In such a case, a person gaining muscles is going to be a lot more difficult because, as I earlier said, you need testosterone for inducing muscle hypertrophy. It's not just testosterone, many other hormones also do play a very significant and important role, including your insulin levels, IGF-1 or insulin-like growth factor 1 hormone, your cortisol levels, all these hormones, your growth hormone, all these hormones play a role with regards to how you're able to gain muscles. So naturally, men have higher testosterone as compared to women. So men can gain gain muscles a lot more easier and faster as compared to women. Another parameter is the protein intake, right? The muscles are nothing but it's actually maintained and repaired and built with the help of amino acids and protein that we eat. A rough guideline with regards to the amount of protein that we need in a day is 0.8 grams to 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. Now, again, it depends upon age of a person, gender of a person, medical condition. A person with uric acid or an impaired kidney function cannot just load up a lot of protein to gain muscles because it's going to be damaging and severely strainful to the kidney. So there are many other parameters, but a broad guideline is this: 0.8 grams to 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So that will also help in terms of building muscles. Now, the most important factor, apart from the adequate amount of the protein and also the testosterone and hormonal level function, is exercises and rest. Both are important. When you exercise, specifically weight training exercises, these will induce micro tears on these muscle fibers, and body will rebuild these muscle fibers with better quality and better quantity. So exercises are important because that's what facilitates muscle growth, also known as muscle hypertrophy. Now, all these things mostly will happen when you're asleep. So 7 to 8 hours of sleep is also important. Now, some of our clients sometimes come and ask, if I include a lot more protein, can I not gain muscles a lot more faster and easier? Well, that's not entirely true. Think of it this way. Suppose if you're making a RC building, a reinforced concrete building, and if there is a wall. Now, to build that wall, you would need bricks, you would need sand, you would need cement, which is the binding agent, and you probably might also need some iron things and stuff like that, right? Iron rods and stuff like that. All these things put together is what gives us the reinforced concrete, which is very strong. You would also have to let that concrete set in, so on and so forth. Now, building muscle is also very similar to that. You can't just load up only protein and expect muscle to grow. There are many other ingredients which get into that. In the earlier example, think of instead of taking 1 sack of cement, you're actually using 5 sacks of cement. Would the wall be stronger? No, the wall will actually become brittle because you've used the constituent, the composition of cement versus sand versus other elements also need to be in place. So similarly, your protein intake, not just protein intake, along with protein intake, your carbohydrate intake, the fat intake, your sleep, your water intake, your exercises, all these constituents has to come in place. Only then it would give you a muscle growth in a proper, healthier manner. So this is the amount of the muscles that you can gain in a healthy way, around 100 grams to 800 grams. So do not get into this expectations of gaining muscles immediately and gaining a lot of muscles in a year's time. And another thing to also remember is that while you gain muscles, you will also end up gaining a little bit of fat too. So that's where it is important that you don't kind of do a huge bulking phase wherein you load up a lot of calories to gain muscles, because that might also end up with fat gain, which we don't need, right? We need to make sure that our fat gain is minimal while we are able to actually gain muscles. For that, exercises are very, very, very important. And not just exercises, you also need to supplement it with the right amount of sleep and protein intake and reasonably healthier lifestyle.